This is Joshua Hart here for Seconds Out. Delighted today to be joined by Xavier Miller over on Zoom. Xavier, first of all, thank you very much for your time this morning, and how are you doing?
Uh, um, yeah, in a very good place. Had a good night last night. So yeah, all good.
Very, very good to hear. Obviously, we've had a lot of big things happen within boxing recently. Very most recent, we had the 5v5 last week out in Saudi Arabia. I just want to get your thoughts on the two top fights, the two heavyweights. We'll start off with Daniel Dubois versus Filip Hrgovic. What did you make of Daniel's performance last weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I was doing the watch along, so it was great. It was a good company. Honestly, just lost for words with Daniel. Really rough start. Just couldn't seem to avoid the right hand of Hrgovic early. But once he got things together and was listening to Don in the corner, he started to break him down. I heard Don saying to him, use the double jab, which was really effective. Took the right hand away and then started working the body. Um, I predicted that Daniel would win. I haven't been impressed, to be honest with you, with Hrgovic. I watched the Zhang fight. I thought he lost. And then the Dempsey McKean fight, we had Dempsey McKean in camp with Dillian, and when we were going to fight Auto Wallin, Dean's a good, Dempsey's a good fighter, and yeah, Hrgovic seemed to be struggling in that fight. There was there live for that fight, so he looks like a bit of a front runner at the moment. When things are going his way, he looks like a monster, and then he tends to have lapses and doesn't do very much. And yeah, someone like Daniel who can hit the way he hits, you can get discouraged quite quickly. And yeah, I was really, really impressed. He's a force, and he's young, and everybody else is old. And yeah, it should be his time.
One of the things that's been a big talking point with Daniel is the confidence and the desire that he had, that the desire that he has when it starts getting tough in there. Obviously, recently in the last few fights, we've seen a massive improvement in that. What do you think the main source is for Daniel's newly found confidence?
It's Don Charles. I've known Don for a very long time. Don's the one that actually gave me my break. He put me in the corner in a lot of big fights with Derek Chisora, Frank Buglioni, and so on. So yeah, but a really good relationship with Don. And with Daniel, I think everyone can agree in the last 12 months, he seems to have found himself. It's not just his boxing. He just sounds more confident. He talks. He's talking like he believes in what he's doing. And I've always said, in my personal opinion, I've been in boxing since I was 11. I think boxing is 90% mental. When you really believe in what you can do, a lot of coaches are good tacticians, and they're good at breaking down fights and game plan and so on and so forth. But if you don't have the mental attitude, then nothing works. And I think Don, as Daniel's almost become a man under Don. He seems to have grown up so much in the last 12 months. It's strange to listen to old interviews and listen to him now. It's like two completely different people. So yeah, you could see the belief was there in that fight. He never looked to shy away or didn't look like he was deterred in any way with what Hrgovic was doing, and eventually got to him. And yeah, Don has done an amazing job with him. But again, Don's been we know him for the heavyweights, and he's had a long stretch of a lot of our top heavyweights. So yeah, I think Don's been made a difference.
And how impressed are you with the improvement in Daniel's confidence and mental strength?
Yeah, I just think it's what he needed. I think that's the only thing that was missing. He clearly has a lot of ability. He's what you want in a heavyweight, isn't he? He's got a good jab. He's powerful. He's got a good right hand. He can obviously take a good shot. But like I said, it's just the mental side of it. So, Don's tapped into that. And he's also got a very good team. Ian Dubry, who's been around Don, that's his right hand man. Tony Pill. There's a lot of experience in that corner now. And they look like a unit in there. And yeah, they're going to do big things.
And next up for Daniel seems to be a fight with Anthony Joshua, rumored for September. How does a fight play out between those two if we're going to look at it now?
It's such youth beat experience. And is this the right time? Joshua's achieved a lot. I know he wants to be a three-time. He's already been a two-time. But it's boxing's all about timing. It might well be the right time for Daniel. It's a very difficult fight for both fighters. Um, it's hard to pick a winner at this stage. Obviously, I've got affiliation with Don, but I know Joshua as well, and he looks after one of my fighters. who used to be in the same gym as him for years. So, I know both guys, and I wish them both well. But obviously, I always want Don to do well. Don's like a big brother to me. But I couldn't pick a winner right now. I just think that it's just a case of does Joshua have the same desire as what he had before? When he got knocked down by Klitschko, he rallied back and one of the best fights I've seen in a long time. Is he able to produce that kind of performance again at this stage in his career? And how much longer does he have? We can see that all the guys that have graced us, for the last 8, 9, 10 years, likes of Fury, Joshua, Dillian, they are all coming towards the end. Obviously, we as boxing fans, we don't ever want it to end, but the reality is Daniel is 26 years old, and these guys are mid to late 30s. So, but at the same time, every great fighter has got one good performance left in them. Always make reference to, Shane Mosley when he came back and beat not my old guy, the other one, I can't remember his name now, Margarita. And then obviously, Povetkin and Dillian, in the first fight, these guys just seem to have one last fight left in them. And it could be, you never know. It's hard to pick, honestly, hard to pick.
And what does Daniel need to do to ensure that he comes out on top against Anthony Joshua?
I think that he needs to establish the jab. He needs to have a better jab than Joshua in this fight, so he can line up the right hand. I think that's going to be the key. I think it will be a battle of the jabs. It's a really difficult one. It's just, to me at the moment, it's a 50-50. But yeah, I think again he needs to tighten up his defense, Daniel. Obviously because of early on he was getting hit regularly. I'm not sure what took him so long to get going. But Don, I'm sure Don and the guys will iron that out. And if they can do that, then yeah, it make him a slight favourite, but it's going to be a difficult one.
And you said in one of the previous statements that are we still sure Joshua has that same desire? He seems to be on a career best run of form. He looks better than what he's ever done under Ben Davison. What makes you not question the desire, but what made you come out with that statement and say?
I don't agree with that. I think Joshua's already had his best days. At the stage that Joshua's at now, all you're going to do really is remind him to go back to the things that he was good at. And having a good run. Joshua's always beaten C, D rate guys. There's never been a question. He beats the Wallins of the world. He beats the Charles Martins of the world. It's Usyk, Fury, and Wilder. They're the guys that you need to get the wins over. To suggest that you've made changes. Joshua will always beat those kind of guys. Like most of the top four will beat those guys outside the top four. But at this stage in his career, it's like it's about going back to what you're good at. It's not necessarily about I'm going to be learning a whole bunch of new things. You don't just change a fighter overnight. What they've done is at Ben's gym, they've done the right thing about in giving him the right fights after the loss to Usyk. You need to rebuild. It's similar to what Wilder really needs to do. He needs to really drop a level if he's going to come back and rebuild. I always think getting 1 or 2 fights in, rebuilding your confidence, and again, proving to your coach that you're able to display the things that you've been working in the gym. I think you need to be given the opportunity to do that as a boxer. So I think they've done that with Joshua. It's when he steps up again, we'll see where he is. But he's achieved amazing things. And he's been one of my favourites for the last few years. I think he's carried boxing, Joshua. It'd be a shame when it's all over. But he needs to be extremely proud of what he does. But you've got to beat the Usyks of the world, the Wilders. Wilder's at the end now, and we need to see a Joshua Fury fight as well. So the Daniel fight will be a real test.
Obviously, you mentioned Deontay Wilder. What did you make of his performance last week against Zhilei Zhang?
It's funny when we as fans of boxing, coaches, everyone alike, we watch these fighters and we remember them at their best, and we always believe they're going to be able to produce that again. I think we got a clear indication in the Parker fight that he's not the same guy. He doesn't seem, again, the ambition. He doesn't seem to have the same fire. He's made some changes. Everyone's got an opinion on whether that was the right thing to do or not. But he doesn't seem to have the killer instinct anymore. I'm not sure if he wants to hurt anybody anymore in the ring. And if you don't have that, especially for Wilder, because he's not the most technically gifted, his ace card is that right hand, but he's just not throwing it anymore. So now he's become a sitting target. And I remember during the watch along, I was saying that early on he was doing the right thing with controlling Zhang's lead hand, but once Zhang made that adjustment and took Deontay Wilder's lead hand away, Deontay Wilder started to almost force the right hand, and that's what left him open for the hook. And it's not good. It's not nice to see fighters go out that way. But honestly, 99% of fighters go out the way that Wilder went out. Sugar Ray Leonard went out in a similar way. Lost. I think it was to Hector Camacho, a guy that he would have beaten in his prime. Mosley went out where he went out. With a back injury. Most fighters' careers end that way. So hopefully the other guys won't go on too long. But it's up to a fighter whether they want to retire or not. It's not for anybody to really make that decision for them. They need to look at how their career's been going for the last few years. He also hasn't been active enough. He hasn't been active enough to even work on the things that he's been working in the gym and then display them come fight night. Pick some guys around CD rate level and do that, and then rebuild if you're going to do that. So yeah, Wilder looks like he's the first one out the door.
And where does Deontay Wilder go from here? Obviously, you mentioned the defeat and everything, but where should he go now?
I think he needs to box guys like around Hellenius level. I think that's the best thing for him. I don't think 2 or 3 fights would be a problem. He's got good backing. Everybody's going to want to put him on a show anyway. He's going to get paid well, and then work his way back up to the top. It's been a hard last 2, 3, 4 years for him. It has been difficult. Those Fury fights have taken something out of both of those guys. But maybe go back to the drawing board and rebuild. I like what Dillian's done with the Franklin fight. Like what Joshua did with the Franklin fight. The guys that haven't been world champions or are like C-rate kind of guys right now. That's to me that's the sensible way to do it.
Fair enough. And then what legacy does Deontay Wilder leave behind if he is to retire?
A very good one. I mean, with that number of title defenses, and everyone can talk about his lack of skill or lack of ability. It's basically not up until recent times. He's knocked down every single opponent or knocked out everyone he faced. It's not by luck. He's very good at setting up that right hand. He's good at blinding opponents with his left. He's good at using a short jab or a fake hook to get guys to drop their defense and then land the right hand. So he's creative with that. He's not really good at much else, but he's managed to master that and has achieved a lot more than a lot of boxers. So I think he's left a good legacy, and no one can say that he hasn't been fun to watch. He's we had the boxing after Mike Tyson, boxing kind of was a bit quiet because Tyson was exciting. We had the Klitschko era, even though the Klitschko were very good, they weren't the most exciting to watch. Wilder's kind of brought that back, he's been really good to boxing, and it's a shame to see him go out the way he did. But for the time that you're here, you can only give what you can give, and he's given a lot.
Understandable. My last bit of news to talk about. We've seen a lot of confusion this week on social media about this current promotional situation between Anthony Yarde and Frank Warren Queensberry. What do you make of this whole situation?
There's no friends in boxing. You don't often find loyalty in boxing. This is why me and my business partner, Nick, have got a very close relationship because we've built what we built from the beginning. But outside of that, don't expect too much from anybody else. I remember Kel was with Matchroom for years, and towards the end, he wasn't dealing with them anymore. Yarde's been with Queensberry from the beginning, and I don't know whose fault it is why it's ended the way it's ended up, but you don't take it personally. I mean, fighters go to different trainers, fighters sign with different promoters, fighters sign with different managers. It's part of boxing. And if you take it personally, then maybe you're not really in the right in the right sport. This is what boxing is, and I was told this very very early. So nothing shocks me or surprises me in this sport. We're all here for a certain period of time, and you just got to make the best of it. And and at the same time, the fighters, it's their careers, and when their career's finished, um, they want to say that they done things the way they wanted to. If they feel like they need to make a change, it's on them. If they stay in a situation where they don't really want to, they're not going to perform and they're not going to be happy. Some fighters feel that they need a change. It's not always the right or best decisions that they make. Sometimes you get someone in your ear and saying, "Yeah, you should do this, or you should no longer be with this person." And some fighters are just not mentally strong enough. You got the likes of like a Terence Crawford, with his team. You heard him say openly, when he was going to sign with certain people, they were telling him to drop his team that actually built him, and he said, "No way, they're coming with me." As a fighter, you've got to be that individual, and it's normal in an era for fighters to have 2 or 3 or 4 losses on their record. That's actually boxing. Going through your whole career being unbeaten is very rare and not the norm. So because you take a loss, it doesn't mean you blame this person or blame that person. You come back and you rebuild. At times that doesn't work, so you've got to move forward. But just remember that this isn't forever. There's no loyalty in boxing.
And where has the confusion come from with this situation?
It's actually because you've asked me the question, but I'll be honest with you, I don't even know. Um, I don't really pay attention to too much going on outside of what's going on in my gym. I've got 10 professional fighters. I've got a lot of work on in my gym. So only if I've got to do like a watch long, then I'll do a lot of prep, do a lot of research about the fights that are going on. So obviously I can speak well. But even current boxing, I've got a lot more information and history in my memory bank about fights from the 90s rather than the fighters today. Because that's the era that I came up in, and that's where I fell in love with boxing. So I know a lot more about those guys than the current guys, unless of course it's someone that we're going to be fighting. And obviously I'll do my homework. But I don't know anything about the Yard or Frank situation. I've got no idea. To be honest with you, they've had a very good run, like longer than a lot of manager or promoters and boxers. So it's actually been a positive. Anthony's got his name out there. He's built a good foundation along with his management team, and Frank's done well with what he's done with him. So, to me, I don't see any negatives. If it's come to an end and the contract's ended, then I don't understand the debate. To be honest with you.
Just my last one. Obviously, we've seen on social media that Queensbury are understanding that he's still under a contract, but Anthony Yard and his team are understanding that they're free agents. How does a situation like this get resolved?
Usually in the courts. If 2 teams, if they can't come together, it's usually in the courts. And nobody really wants it to go that way. But sometimes, if you feel you're right, and the other team, and the other opposition feel that they're right, then obviously it can only be sorted out in that way. But you never know; they might get it together before then. But I think the important thing now is that we've got some good domestic fights over here. I would really like to see Yard in with Boatsi. I'd like to see Yard with Aziz. Craig Richards. It's a good mix of probably got Lyndon Arthur's right there. These guys can mix up and fight each other. It's just a shame that a lot of boxers tend to fight the opposition they should fight when they come towards the end of their career, rather than when they're in their prime. I really like when George Groves and James DeGale fought early in their career. I don't know if it's for a British title, but both guys went on to have good careers. They say it was a good crossroads fight. Same with Nathan Cleverly and Tony Bellew. They fought early in their career, but they both went on to have decent careers. I like guys getting in and fighting each other early. If you're good enough, you'll come back and rebuild and work your way towards a world title. But yeah, I'd like to see Yarding with all those guys.
Well, Xavier, thank you very much for your time and for the good insight on these fights. I'm going to let you go now, so thank you for talking to us here at Seconds Out.
Take care. Thank you.